told him I was running for office, and I said, how can I help you if I get elected? He said, well, make this the last time you stop at my house. Just leave me alone. I don't need any more regulations. We've got everything under control. I'm not polluting anything. I'm taking care of my land, raising the cattle the way I want. I'm doing it by the book, and I'm not damaging anything. I don't want to damage my own land. And it struck a chord because before that I didn't know, a lot I didn't know, but I didn't know that Cass County was the third largest cattle producing county in the state of Minnesota. It's huge. So I mean, a lot of operations west of Pine River. They're just huge operations. How do we help them? I mean, John mentioned, you know, what product do you have to sell and can you sell it? Well, you can have the best widget in the world, and you can have everybody, half the people in the world wanting to buy the widget, but if the government gets in the way and wants to regulate how you make the widget and how many widgets you can make per day, then you're constrained, you're limited as to how far you can go and how many people you can hire. I mean, that's a simple analogy, but it's the best I can give. I would love to have, in fact, if I had the answer to turn this country's economy around or to make Minnesota better, well, I'd be running for governor or the president. But, you know, it seems like no matter who comes up with the best idea, we've got 10 people that can say, oh, that's not going to work.
Minnesota's done a pretty good job of it. I do want to talk about Larry's cattle analogy, because I got a lot of cattle guys in my district too, and they're all pretty good friends of mine, and they're like the cattle guy that Larry had. They just want to be left alone. The vast majority of them are doing just fine. They're having a pretty good year. Cattle prices have been pretty strong. But you know, there was a time when they wanted government. Bovine TB. Individually, those cattle guys could not have solved that. The state came in, did a bunch of unpopular stuff, to be honest with you, because we bought out some cattle herds. We shot a bunch of white-tailed deer up by the Grigla area, and it wasn't probably the best time to be a legislator, because it wasn't a very good time to be trying to have a popularity contest. But in the end, we did the right thing, and we're, again, bovine TB free. No individual cattle rancher could have done that, but the state was able to do it, working through the Board of Animal Health. Dr. Hartman, great public servants that did a great thing for the state of Minnesota by getting us bovine TB free again. And now, hopefully those cattle ranchers can go about their business and do what they want to do and keep making some money and selling cattle. But, you know, it isn't always time to be all alone. Sometimes you got to do things collectively.
One final comment on Minnesota businesses. They must be doing really, really well, because I keep getting these flyers that are from the Coalition of Minnesota Businesses, and they're telling me how I should vote on certain issues. I must have 15 of them to my credit, and John, you're up in the 13. And at $5,000 a piece, which is our estimate of that, that's $75,000 that the Coalition of Minnesota Businesses and these PACs are throwing at these races. Here I'm just a poor school teacher from northern Minnesota. I'm not sure I have a thick enough skin, but all I know is the superintendents I've talked to, they're trying to pass referendums, or they're the $50 per student increase pays the interest on the loans they have to take out to get through the school years. I don't know, I just gotta think we can do better than that. Thank you.
Minnesota's economy is, you know, not perking along, but we're getting by, and getting by better than a lot. We're getting by in this part of the state better than some other parts of the state are getting by. Certainly, we'd like to see a little more economic growth, I believe, but you know, let's make sure we got a frame of reference for economic growth, because a lot of folks think back on economic growth and you think back pre-2008. And that economy was a straw man economy. It was not sustainable. And we know why now, we're learning why. Because banking regulations were laxed up, you know, this whole thing about the mortgage crisis, we know that wasn't sustainable. So if that's our frame of reference, let's don't go back there. let's don't do it again. Let's wise up. And we know the way, I know how I was brought up, and you work every day, you get your paycheck at the end of the week, and you just keep moving forward. That's the dream most Minnesotans have, the American dream. And we're gonna make our payments, we're gonna be good citizens, and we're gonna keep moving forward. But to get rich quick stuff, that's not an economy. That's a one-time thing. That's you can get rich overnight. That's a P.T. Barnum economy. You know, P.T. Barnum is a sucker born every minute. That's what that whole thing was about in that mortgage crisis. We got into that because that was the philosophy. Folks just wanting to make money. Just greedier than all get out. We don't want to go back there. So we've got to make sure that we step forward very slowly and with diligence. I want to say something about the surplus. When you hear stuff about a surplus in Minnesota, and you're going to hear this a couple more times before we get out of here tonight, it's a talking point. It is technically correct. I think somebody said WCCO, and they asked Keith Downey this, and he's one of the guys that talks about this on the House floor. Yeah, he's technically correct until we get back into session. There's a surplus. There's a surplus until we get back into session. Then what? Then we got several $1 billion that we owe back to the schools and everybody else. It's a straw man surplus. It doesn't mean a diddly squat. And we don't want to go to the bank with that kind of stuff. We owe more money on that tobacco, so we're going to end up paying $500 million back on those tobacco bonds. $500 million that's costing Minnesotans on those tobacco bonds. Why would anybody do that stuff? Anyway, I'll quit. I didn't vote for it.